Ready or not, here I come now. Let's play hide and seek. Prepare to be caught. Here I come now. Let's play hide and seek. Riding on the playground, no one dares to make a sound. Round and round and round and round, no one wants to be first found.
Hey, so I have been coming across more and more and more articles and videos and blog type stuff that this wasn't about a knife. This was about a gun. And in the video I came across the other day, it's another person's version of, well, not version, but recording, I guess, shared of the 12-to-1 surveillance on Lindow Lane, 1330 Lindow Lane. And it's it's the full version of the part of the one that I posted the other day where the guy with the flashlight and stuff, and that person came in at around 12:30, a little bit before 12:30, and was there for a bit and then got in a car and drove off. I don't know if he drove or if someone else was driving. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, the events that happened prior to that, I feel like you hear gun sounds. And so there were reported gunshots that morning at about 1 o'clock. There were reports of it. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it or whatever, and people will say, that wasn't a gunshot. Well, if you listen to them, you can hear, they sound different than like a door shutting, because they kind of ring out. They're like more echoey, I guess is a good word for it. And they last longer, like the ring goes longer, like the sound moves further, than a normal sound. Yes, it could be, those dumpster lids shutting, but mind you, keep in mind that the one on Lindow Lane, the 1320 Lindow Lane, did not have a lid on it. It didn't have one. And the other ones these days are not metal, they're plastic. So it wouldn't necessarily sound like that. Not even close. So when people are saying it's the lid on the dumpster, well, possibly there could be lids still on those dumpsters that were metal, but the ones I've seen there are plastic, the big heavy plastic ones. And it wouldn't sound like that unless those garbage cans were empty. And we saw what they looked like the next day, and no, those weren't empty. Oh, and by the way, there's also a video out there where it shows a car that was going to the scene. It was a reporter, and she drives past a guy standing by a dumpster. Well, right behind him is a nice rectangular square patch, and around that patch is snow. And so there were spots where there was snow that day. I mean, it hadn't snowed yet, but there were definitely spots that there was snow there. And so what that tells me is that there was a missing dumpster. Where'd that dumpster go? And to top it off, it didn't look like there was tracks where that dumpster was rolled anywhere. It looks as if that dumpster was picked up and taken away from that area, because there's no tracks showing that it was pulled away or anything. It was a nice, clear, just surrounding chunk of snow that was around that dry spot that the dumpster was obviously sitting over, protecting that spot so it would stay dry and free of snow. So that's another question. Where the hell's that dumpster? And why were the other dumpsters still there, yet that one was gone? There's so many things in this case that are so ridiculously being told to us, in my opinion, that didn't happen, that other things happened that we're not knowing about. And just like there's another thing out there too that is, I found a few of them where it's claiming that the reason the people, the scene that we saw when it all unfolded, on the news, and them going to the house with the booties and things were just really kind of flippant. If you ask me, it didn't seem real. It seemed staged. And that's because, from what I'm hearing now, is that the police were there at about 8:30 that morning, between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. And so that whole incident of them, showing what they wanted us to see was not really what happened. And I've seen photographs of what looks to be more of dawn, like the dawn, like when the sun's just rising, but it's actually up, but not quite there yet. And there was a ton of cop cars there, and there were cops everywhere, all over the road, in the yard. They were everywhere. And it's like, what? So what? Why the big mystery over one person when there's no way, in my mind, and I know a lot of you feel the same way, that one person could have done this? And if he was involved in any way, shape, or form, then there's other people involved too. So why aren't they being brought forward? Why is this going down on one person if he had anything to do with it? Which I don't believe he did, but I'm just saying. Just a question. Just sticking it out there. But so here's one of the things that popped up that I found earlier today. So here you go.
2 universities are grieving the tragic loss of students tonight. In Moscow, Idaho, 4 University of Idaho students were found dead in a home near campus Sunday. And in Charlottesville, Virginia, 3 University of Virginia students were shot and killed last night. John Yang has our report.
Pardon me. University of Virginia Police Chief Tim Longo was in the middle of briefing reporters this morning when he got the word he'd been hoping for.
We've just received information the suspect is in custody.
An emotional moment for Longo and for students like junior Emmy Smith, who had sheltered in place overnight.
It's partially a relief that this is over, but it's just, how do we move forward in a time like this?
Move forward from about 10:30 Sunday night, when a shooting left 3 students dead and 2 others wounded after a bus trip to Washington, D.C. to see a play as part of a class.
I have 2 people shot.
Officials said the dead were members of the football team. Starting wide receiver Lavelle Davis Jr. from Ridgeville, South Carolina, in his 3rd year. Sophomore Devin Chandler, also a wide receiver from Huntersville, North Carolina. And linebacker Deshaun Perry, a senior from Miami. A former football player, Christopher Darnell Jones Jr., has been charged with 3 counts of second-degree murder and use of a handgun. Longo said Jones had come to school officials' attention in September after reports he had said he had a gun.
The comment about Mr. Jones owning a gun was not made in conjunction with any threats.
In a 2018 interview with the Richmond Times-Dispatch, Jones spoke of multiple suspensions from school for fighting while growing up in a Richmond housing project, a much different environment from UVA's picturesque campus designed by Thomas Jefferson. For Emmy Smith, the shooting was a shocking event.
I was just in my room with my friend watching movies on a Sunday night, and I faintly heard gunshots go off. We were instantly bolting the doors, closing all the windows, lights off, moved the floor away from any and all windows.
Overnight students were...
So I hope you guys heard what she said. When she first talked, I'm sorry to interrupt this, but I don't want to get this out there. When she first talked, and she still is, she's whispering still, right? I mean, that must have been, very scary. But then she says she faintly heard gunshots. Now, faintly to me, from where I'm at, I mean, I'm sure there's gravel pits around here. They go shooting and stuff like that. And, and it's just something that, I hear kind of a lot, really. And so it's kind of interesting to me that she would say faintly heard, but then she was instantly up, lights are off, doors are locked, windows are shut, and they're on the ground, hunkering down. That to me is... That to me says that this happens a lot there. It's something that they're used to. Because that's not even... I mean, if I faintly heard gunshot sounds, that wouldn't really have even come to my mind to do something like that. So that just raises a question to me, just what goes on over there. I mean, how often does that happen? And I would think in a bigger area like that probably happens quite a bit more than, a smaller town. But then again, smaller towns have cover-ups and they don't like to tell you about these things. So do big towns. Not saying that they don't, but I don't know. It just seems weird the way she said some of this. Just got me thinking, that's all.
To shelter in place during an intense manhunt. Some slept in libraries. Across the country at the University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho, another shelter-in-place order Sunday after 4 students were found shot to death in a home near campus. Officials...
Okay, right here, I need to say something. Because there are other photographs of this day and other videos where there is a news reporter standing outside of the King house by the driveway, and there's literally one police officer in the driveway guarding it, I guess, and there's no other cars around. Yet there at nighttime here, it's showing that there's cars here. This makes me feel like that's not how this... I mean, there's something wrong here. So you think they came back that night and, worked the crime scene more? I mean, do you think it was better that way because there were less people around or what? I mean, it seemed like they wanted to get it done in the daytime so they could see things better. And they could, walk the grid and all that good stuff. But this is at nighttime. And from what I've seen in many different ones, now these ones like this are hard to come by because you don't get to see these anymore because they scrubbed them. But there are some of those out there that you're, able to see. But this just blows my mind because I was in that particular that newscaster that was talking about that was saying that they'd be back. They wrapped up for the day or something like that, and they would be back tomorrow or so on and so forth. And I thought, I don't know. It just seemed weird. It seemed so weird to me that there was nobody there at the time that she said that she was there. Like it was the 13th, and it seemed like it was just evening, like right before the sun was going to set because it was fairly light outside. I don't know. It just felt very strange. Yeah, really, really weird.
Releasing little information in that case, but both events are a grim reminder of the nation's epidemic of gun violence.
Let me play this without interrupting it because definitely something was missed here. So here we go.
In place during an intense manhunt. Some slept in libraries. Across the country at the University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho, another shelter-in-place order Sunday after 4 students were found shot to death in a home near campus. Officials are releasing little information in that case, but both events are a grim reminder of the nation's epidemic of gun violence. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm John Yang.
Okay, I just wanted you to see this. So this was, this news broadcast was November 14th. Now, look where it says here. it says, correction, our story said that the 4 people killed in Idaho were shot to death, but police have not yet released the cause of the deaths, saying only that it is being investigated as a homicide. We are awaiting more information from authorities on the cause of death. I don't know why this one is affecting me like it is, but this particular way that they wrote this, and the way that Moscow, they did not come out with what, what happened in the house, like everybody else does a immediate news, a presser, right? These guys didn't do that. Would they wait like 2 days to even say what happened? Were they getting their story? Were they getting a story together? Were they really shot? Make this make sense. My God. How long can they drag this out? I mean, get some relief to the families. Get some, they just, and justice for the kids. I just wish they'd stop just changing things up. I mean, because this right here really irks me. Because the more and more I see in the things that are coming out, because things are coming out, it feels more like it was a shooting. And then they covered it up, maybe with paint on the outside of the wall, the story they had to tell, the sheath. I mean, and that whole thing is just, that whole thing, I almost said the other word, I would have gotten in trouble for that one. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't know how anybody can believe anything about that sheath. It makes no sense at all. None. I just don't understand how people can believe the sheath story. Don't get it. Don't get it, never will. So, yeah, I don't know. What's your thoughts on that sheath? Because I just can't swallow that one. That's for sure. Okay. Love you guys. Thank you. Appreciate you all. Have a great night.